All right. I knew this was going to come up, so I'm going to throw these out there. Sharifa says the authentic is always the best. Okay. Authenticity is sort of a subjective term, like it's relative. So we'll get to that here in just a second. But the next one is really great.
I knew someone was going to say that.
I knew someone was going to as well. And then also
just walk up to people and say I want to bang you. It doesn't. Right. If you're Leonardo DiCaprio, you can. Right. But if you're a normal dude, you can't. You're going to get arrested. We live in sensitive times.
Yeah. And then Black Noir says this, and I was just about to bring this up, by the way, is Alan Roger Currie's book is Mode 1. And for the record here, like Alan and I are still really cool. Like I love the pictures of his babies. His kid looks just like him. It's like a mini me version of him. But yeah, we're like Alan and I have always been cool. In fact, I got him, maybe regrettably, on the I think it was the first or the second 21 convention. But and so now he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing, and we're still cool, just so everybody knows. But anyways, Alan Roger Currie is the author of Mode 1 and some other books as well. And he and I don't think we've locked horns, but we've certainly had our debates and our discussions about what is preferable. Is it like overtly direct game, like, hey, are you DTF, right? Yeah, are you I think you're hot, are you down to fuck, let's go, kind of thing. Is that more of, and maybe that's a little overly blunt, but do you think that it is more about that degree of directness versus, like, it seems to me like that's sort of like there's two binary extremes here. The one is like, hey, are you DTF? That's it. Right. Or else you're playing games, right? Because otherwise you're wasting your time. You're a dancing monkey, right? You're validating women by playing their game and learning how to speak their language rather than being a real man and, staying in your frame and staying in the way, speaking the way a man should speak, which is direct. You'll say what you mean and mean what you say, kind of thing. It seems like though there's got to be some kind of like balance between the two of those, at least as far as I'm concerned. But it seems like because we live in sort of this binary extreme, everything has to be like black or white, or has to be on or off, or what, hot or cold. It seems to me like a lot of people who think that if you're not direct, if you're not like Alan Roger Currie, Mode 1 direct, then you're just playing games, you're dancing monkey, and you're validating women by actually learning game at all.
Yeah, I just don't think that's a very good argument, personally. It's not something I buy into, because it's sort of like, I mean, you can say that, yes, you're simping for women because you're trying to do things in a way that they're going to appreciate, and they're going to reward you with sex or intimacy as a result of that. You could make that argument, but like at the end of the day, we're all only on this planet once. We all want to enjoy our lives. We all want to have great romantic sexual experiences. We all want to enjoy adventure and stuff like that. And if you want something, you've got the best way to go about achieving it is to work out the best means of doing it, right? So I don't really buy into the whole sort of, oh, you're playing into her frame kind of a thing. But in terms of authenticity and directness, I think subcommunication works very, very hard here. And what I mean by that is the eye contact, the way you look at her, the intonation, even things like your stance, your body language, all that stuff it does a lot of the heavy lifting. And actually what you say, it doesn't need to come down to this debate of, do I say, are you DTF, or do I say, oh, what a nice flowery dress you're wearing? It doesn't need to come down to this binary. You can go in with something relatively benign, like, oh, hi, I'm new to St. Petersburg, but the way that you're looking at, I wanted to say hello or whatever, right? But the way that you're looking at her, what's being sub-communicated is doing a lot of the work. And as long as that is direct, and you're giving over this sort of sexual energy and through the way that you're doing that I think is the key thing.
Mm-hmm. James, what do you think? Do you think it's simping to learn game? I mean, that's like the most binary way of thinking about this. Like, if you learn game and you're actually speaking her, like you're speaking in a way, or you're trying to play. People don't even like the term game, right? Because it sounds like you're manipulating. You're playing games, mister. There's something wrong with you for playing games. Do you think that there is a balance between like being overly direct and being too like sort of game playing simpy guy, like learning how to become more like, I guess, like a male feminist almost, right? Like you want to become more like a woman and identify more like a woman, and therefore you become a dancing monkey as a result.
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place, right? If she's butt naked in your room or you're at an orgy, you can be super direct, and that's fine. But there's something in there as well, which is just like the reason I know this is slightly different, but the reason the prostitution industry doesn't make men happy, as we all know, is you're missing the two things. You're missing the chase, which is the seduction dance, right? That Robert Greene art of seduction, like game. Mm-hmm. The dance on both sides. Will it happen? Won't it happen? That's a very addictive feeling. That's what you actually get addicted to when you start doing game, in my opinion. And you're missing the emotional connection, right? Yeah. So if you're just going up to girls and saying, "Do you want to bang?" And you might as well just go get a boat off Cartagena, with 5 Venezuelans and a kilo of coke and just kick back and have some fun. I mean,
which doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We can go most correct route. Yeah, I've got our flights booked, but the point is, like, it should be fun. That chase should be fun. As men, we're meant to chase. We're meant to lead. It's supposed to be like, will I, won't I? It's supposed to be nuanced. It's flirty. It's fun. It's like you feel fucking in the moment, right? You're present. The emotions are up and down. And that's what being alive is, right? Not just walking out to people saying you want to bang, right? It's too one-dimensional.
Just get back from a 7.5 day family vacation, which was very relaxing. I needed to get away from YouTube for a few days. Needed to get away from all the drama associated with the manosphere, the black manosphere, and everything else. So yeah, I had a good time. Visited 2 cities in 7 days. My son got a chance to meet some new relatives. Had a good time. Now, speaking of that, on a quick side note, I know since I've been on YouTube, there's been a minimum about 3, 4, 5 different YouTube personalities that will brag on the fact that they don't take vacations. They'll brag on that. I've heard guys, I could name names right now, but I won't. But yeah, there's been some guys, I've heard them say over the last 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, man, I don't take no vacations. I do podcasts or live streams on Christmas Day, New Year's Day, July 4th, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving. And they'll say it like they bragging on it, like they want to be admired as this workaholic. No, motherfucker, you ain't got no life. That's what you need to be honest about. You ain't got no damn life. If you're doing either podcasts and or live streams on all the major holidays and even the second tier holidays, and you never ever take no vacations throughout the year, I don't mean you are a workaholic worthy of admiration. That means you ain't got no goddamn life. I'll tell you that directly. You ain't got no damn life. And some of these same guys be giving advice to other men on how to have a more enjoyable social life. How you gonna teach men how to have a more enjoyable social life and you on YouTube like 90% of your waking hours? You ain't got no life, so don't act like you do. I just had to get that out, man. Yeah, because I've heard some guys, like, what made me think of that was, I remember one time, I think it was like 2 years ago, I was about to go on a vacation. And I said I was going to be away from YouTube for at least a week and Patreon for at least a week. And this other black male YouTuber kind of took an indirect jab at me. He didn't mention me by name, but he said, yeah, I recently heard somebody's going to go on vacation. I don't take vacations. I never take vacations. I do podcasts or live streams on all the holidays and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Nikki, Because you ain't got no life. You ain't got no real life friends. You ain't got no woman. Or if you got a woman, she just sits around watching you do shit on YouTube all the time. There ain't nothing to brag about. You should be embarrassed about that. Shoot, I've been on YouTube for a little over 4 years. I done went on 2 cruises in that period. A 10-day cruise, a 7-day cruise. I done went on a number of vacations. Like this year, even though we're in a pandemic, Memorial Day weekend, I went out of town, hooked up with some of my fraternity brothers. Again, I just got back from a 7.5 day vacation. Shoot, I'm proud of that, man. I would never feel pride in saying that I do videos on holidays. I don't take no pride in that shit. Because again, that means you ain't got no damn social life, which is probably at least half the motherfuckers on YouTube. Real talk. Now, by the end of this video, there's going to be a percentage of guys that are probably going to say, it sounds like RC just took some shots at Rollo Tomassi. Sound like RC just took some shots at Rollo Tomassi. I wouldn't have a problem with that perception. This will actually be the second time I've called out Rollo Tomassi publicly in one of my videos. The first time was when Rollo interviewed a London-based PUA by the name of Nick Krauser. And at one point in this interview, Nick Krauser disparaged my Mode 1 approach. He just flat out disparaged it. Now, on one end, Rollo didn't necessarily co-sign with Nick Krauser's criticisms and insults of my Mode 1 approach. He didn't fully co-sign with him. But he didn't defend the Mode 1 approach either. He just kind of sat there like, And I didn't take too kindly to that. For someone that, as you heard in the opening clip, claims he's cool with me, but yet he's going to allow somebody else to disparage my Mode 1 approach. And now this is almost similar. Not exactly the same, but this is almost similar, man. Rollo's interviewing 2 conventional type PUAs, indirect verbal game. Now here's the funny thing though. Here's the funny thing. I didn't include this part, but right before the portion that you heard at the beginning, both of these guys, I think their names are Troy Francis and James Tusk or Fusk, one of the two. It's either Tusk or Fusk. Tusk or Fusk. Both of these guys initially, before he brought up my name, this is what was amusing to me. Before he brought up my name, they both were saying they agree with a direct approach. Because the initial question was, what do you think about the ongoing direct versus indirect debate? That was the original question before my name was brought up. It was just simply, what do you think about the ongoing direct versus indirect game debate? Which is, I started that. Here I go with me taking ownership over different things, but it is the truth. I was the first one in the manosphere who you could say essentially created the direct versus, because see, when I came on the scene, pretty much everybody was indirect. There really was nobody else that was direct in the worldwide manosphere. Real talk. There was nobody else that was direct. I didn't find out about another direct guy until around 2005, 2006. That's when I first found out about David X. Was somewhere between late 2005 and early 2006. No, I went 2005. No, I know for a fact it went 2000 because it was after my book came out. Because my paperback version of Mode 1 didn't come out until February of 2006. So it had to be in because I found out about David X after my book came out, because I used to be on this message board called directmethod.com. And that's when I first heard of David X. I got on there, I think, in fall of 2006. And guys used to say, oh, there's at least one other guy who's direct, similar to you, Alan. He goes by the name David X. And that's when I first heard about David X. But before I heard about David X, man, wasn't nobody direct. I was like the sole person that was well known in the worldwide, or what some people call the white manosphere, that was about being direct. Everybody else pretty much was about being indirect. But anyway, going back to this interview with Rollo and these two PUAs, right? First, they just started talking about direct versus indirect in general. And here's what was funny, and this ain't the first time I've heard this. This is, if you remember, I said one of my first beefs, philosophical beefs, was with this guy from London named Yad. And these two guys that Rollo interviewed are similar to Yad. Here was their initial definition of direct. They believed that just giving a woman a compliment was representative of being direct, which always makes me laugh. And again, that's what Yad used to believe, or probably still does believe. That's how he used to define direct. A lot of guys like conventional PUAs and indirect guys, particularly the Caucasian ones, they think indirect, here's their definition of direct versus indirect. They think indirect would be if you went up to a woman and said, hey, could you help me find this restaurant, or could you help me find this shoe store? And the woman says, yeah, I can help you find that shoe store or that restaurant. And then you talk to her for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And then, you know, maybe at the very end of the conversation, you say, hey, would you like to get together sometime for dinner? And the woman says, sure. They categorize that as indirect. And here's what they categorize as direct, is if you just simply go up to a woman and say, hey, I think you're attractive and I think you're sexy. But nothing beyond that. Hey, I'm really attracted to you. I think you're hot. I think you're sexy. They think that's being direct. No. That's not direct. That might be a contributing factor to being direct, but that by itself, giving a woman a compliment, that's not direct, bro. So anyway, that's what took place right before the portion you heard at the beginning of the video. It was interesting how quickly they switched. Because again, when they were talking about direct versus indirect in general, without me or my Mode 1 approach being involved in the discussion, both of them were all about being direct. They said between the two, yeah, we actually would rather guys be direct. Because that way you don't waste time and, you know, and blah, 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 blah. You cut through the BS. And it sounded like they were on the verge of endorsing my approach. Because that's why I'm Mode 1. To cut through all the bullshit so that I don't waste time and money. So when they were talking about direct versus indirect in general, again, these two guys basically lean towards saying direct is better. But then somebody from the chat room specifically asked them about me and my Mode 1 approach. And that's where the portion you heard, the audio clip you heard at the beginning of this video starts off, is when somebody from the chat room asked them specifically, what do you think about Alan Roger Currie and his Mode 1 approach? And then that's when they did a 180. That's when they did a 180, which was almost facilitated by Rollo himself. Because it starts with everything you heard Rollo say. Rollo basically was saying, even though I'm cool with Alan Roger Currie, I don't agree with his Mode 1 approach. I think it's too extreme. That wasn't his exact words, but essentially that's what he was saying. Essentially, this was my paraphrase version where Rollo started off saying, he basically said, yeah, Alan is someone I'm cool with, I'm someone I respect. But that said, I don't really agree with his Mode 1 approach because I think it's too direct. I think it's too blunt. It's too direct. And then so he asked the other two guys what their opinion. And both of them ended up basically saying, yeah, that's too direct. If you're just going up to a woman and just straight up saying, you know, I want to fuck you, that's too direct. Insert dog face here. of this surprised me. So I'm not irritated in the sense that, anything that was said threw me for a loop. I anticipate this type of shit from conventional PUAs and indirect verbal game coaches. I expect them to say bullshit like they did. Let's start with Rollo. Rollo he asked this question. He said, isn't there some type of middle ground between being really, really blunt, hardcore direct and being, indirect? Isn't there some type of middle ground that can be achieved and experienced that is not on either extreme? The answer is yes. And I think my longtime followers know what that middle ground is. It's called Mo 1.5. In simple terms, it's called Mo 1. That's what Mo 1.5 is. That's exactly what Mo 1.5 is, which of course was first coined by my older brother, Steven. Steven was the one who came up with Mo 1.5, mainly because he didn't like the idea of using profanity or sexually explicit language with women in his very first conversation with them. That was why he came up with Mo 1.5. The main thing he didn't like doing, he didn't like using profanity or R-rated, X-rated, or triple X-rated sexually explicit language with women in the very first conversation. So he created his own variation of Mo 1 that he later called Mo 1.5. Let's put it this way. If on one end of the stick you have Mo 1 hardcore, which is my most profane and explicit version of Mo 1, Mo 1 hardcore, and on the opposite end you have Mo 2 behavior, which is vague and ambiguous, overly cautious, overly polite, flattering and entertaining type verbal communication style. So yeah, if you have one extreme, Mo 1 hardcore, and the other extreme is Mo 2, right in the middle would be Mo 1.5. Right in the middle would be Mo 1.5. Try this new drink called White Claw, giving them free advertisement. White Claw. Pretty good. Like seltzer water with a hint of alcohol. Yeah, Mo 1.5 would be right in the middle. But if you listen to that full interview, particularly the portion where they're talking about me, what have I always said? I've said this, oh my God, so many times. No less than 90% of the time that guys criticize my Mo 1 approach, what out of my 3 variations, which variation do they always criticize the most? Mo 1 hardcore. Again, I got 3 variations of Mo 1. Mo 1 hardcore, standard or conventional Mo 1, and Mo 1.5. Very rarely when guys criticize Mo 1 approach, do they give an example of standard Mo 1 or Mo 1.5. I would say no less than 90, and actually more like 95 to 99% of the time that guys criticize Mo 1 and they give an example, it's a Mo 1 hardcore example. For example, in this interview, both guys gave the example of walking up to a woman and essentially immediately saying, hey, my name is Frank, I want to fuck you. That's not standard Mo 1, that's Mo 1 hardcore. That's Mo 1 hardcore. They always go after Mo 1 hardcore. Almost everybody, 19 out of every 20 people who harshly criticize Mo 1, they specifically criticize Mo 1 hardcore. They never discuss standard Mo 1, and for damn sure they never discuss Mo 1.5. But again, going back to that question that Rollo posed us to this, he said, can we find some kind of middle ground? I do have a middle ground. It's called Mo 1.5. With Mo 1.5, that's when you would talk to a woman anywhere from an average of 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. You would spend the first 5 to 10 minutes of your conversation just kind of filling a woman out, asking her questions about herself, telling her stuff about yourself, being what some people would call flirty. Excuse me. And then at no later than the 10-minute mark of roughly the 10-minute mark of the conversation, you would say to that woman, hey, let me let you know up front. I'm not interested in a series of interactions with you that are of a purely platonic nature. I have no interest in being your next male platonic friend. And secondly, I have very little, if any, interest in entering into any type of long-term, emotionally profound, strictly monogamous, romantic type relationship. Right now, I just want to, play the field, and I'm letting you know that up front. And then you wait for the woman's response, and you let the conversation continue from there. That would be a general example of Mode 1.5. That would be a general example of Mode 1.5. And the biggest thing with Mode 1.5, you don't use any profanity, and you don't use any R-rated, X-rated, or triple X-rated language. That's the middle ground, is Mode 1.5. I'm trying to think anything else Rollo said that I have, Well, I'm going to be honest with you, man. And this is where I said some people are going to say, shots fired. I heard Rollo preface all his comments by saying, me and Alan are cool. I would say this. We have a cordial degree of respect between us to the point where neither one of us have ever taken personal shots at each other. I don't think I've ever taken a personal level shot at Rollo, and he's never taken a personal level shot at me. So in that respect, I would say we're generally cool with each other. But on a more philosophical level, that's where I would have some degree of disagreement with him saying that we're cool. Because I would say, starting with the time I interviewed him on my Blog Talk Radio show back in spring of 2016, there's a lot of shit that Rollo talks about that I just flat out don't agree with philosophically. So yeah, on a purely philosophical level, it ain't like we think alike or endorse a lot of the same thing. See, here's a simple general problem I have with Rollo before I move on to his two guests. One of Rollo's nicknames, and this relates to, if you remember, this relates to my very last video I did before I went on vacation, where I said, if you use any variation of indirect verbal game, you can't call yourself red pill. You're purple pill. That was my very last video before I went on my vacation. I think I did that video on June 29th. Yeah, June 29th. I did a video called, if you use any variation of indirect verbal game with women, you're not red pill. You're purple pill. And basically, in a nutshell, that's how I feel about Rollo. If I had to be honest, that's how I feel about Rollo, man. Rollo has been called the godfather of red pill knowledge, wisdom, and insight. That's one of his nicknames. Just like I'm known as the godfather of direct verbal game, knowledge, wisdom, and advice. One of Rollo's nickname is the godfather of red pill knowledge, wisdom, and advice. But my severe question to Rollo is, how can you call yourself a red pill guru, but you be basically co-signing with all these conventional PUAs and indirect verbal game dating coaches, man? I don't respect none of them motherfuckers as red pill, man. Real talk. Real motherfucking talk. Any guy who's all about indirect verbal game, for me, Alan Currie, you ain't red pill to me. You ain't red pill. You purple pill, man. Because to be red pill means that you fully understand women's true sexual nature. You understand women's true manipulative and materialistic nature. And you understand women's true hypergamous nature. Those three things. That's when you can call yourself red pill. Is when you have a full and thorough understanding of women's true sexual nature, their true spoiled and manipulative nature, and their true materialistic and hypergamous nature. When you understand those three things about women, fully, that's when you could call yourself red pill. So, if you do understand those three things about women, why the fuck you being indirect? Why the fuck you engaging in manipulative head games then? That don't make no sense. Ain't nothing about indirect that's red pill. Nothing. In my opinion, anyway. Ain't nothing red pill about being indirect with a bitch. Nothing. That's some verbal coward shit, man. And all these dudes be talking about, raising your masculinity game. How can you call yourself masculine if you indirect? How can you look in the mirror and call yourself masculine and you beating around the bush with women? Talking to them all vague and ambiguous. Instead of just straightforwardly saying, bitch, I'm trying to fuck. When it comes to a combination of being verbally bold, straightforwardly honest, and sexually explicit with women, let women know from the get-go that you're trying to fuck. Who in this manosphere can hang with me? Who? Name them. I done opened conversations by telling women, I can't wait to see my dick in your mouth. Who's been on that level in this manosphere? Who's been on that level in this manosphere? Name them. I want to hear their name. Ain't nobody's name I heard that's been on that level with a woman. Telling a woman, I want to fuck you and your roommate within 30 seconds or less of opening up the conversation. Because I'm a hardcore red pill motherfucker, man. I don't treat women like they're these innocent, wholesome, good girls and shit. And I ain't landed in prison for people keep saying, oh, if you do that, you'll get arrested. I ain't never been arrested. Shut that noise up. Name somebody who was the target of Me Too allegations that just straight up told a woman he thought she was attractive and he wanted to have casual sex with her and he got arrested. Name one. Name one. Name one person in the target of the Me Too movement that just went up to a woman and said, hey, I think you're very attractive, I think you're very sexy, and at some point in the near future, we need to exchange orgasms and have casual sex. And the next day, that motherfucker was arrested. Name them. All this wimpy ass shit, man. That's why I can't hang out, man. That's why for over the last 2-3 decades, why it's hard for me to hang out with motherfuckers. Somebody asked me that, one of my Patreon subscribers. They said that. And they don't even know me that well, but they said, I was doing a Patreon live stream, and one of my Patreon subscribers said, Alan, I bet before you got married, as hardcore mode 1 as you are most of the time, it was probably hard for you to hang out with friends and acquaintances of yours that was mode 2 or mode 3. And I was like, gross understatement. Because see, I was the type of brother, man, I'm so irritated by mode 2 behavior and mode 3 behavior, I'll throw salt in your game. And guys don't like people throwing salt. Matter of fact, there was this comedian that did a comedic video about that. It was comedic, but it was I can't remember this dude's name, but it was a black guy. And what he would do is they would show a guy being flirty with a woman, but basically being either mode 2 or mode 3. And then he would jump in the picture and say, hey, man, why you bullshitting this woman? You know you trying to fuck. Why don't you just tell this woman you trying to fuck? Why you bullshit, man? Why don't you tell this woman you trying to fuck? He did that to like about 3, 4, or 5 guys in the video. I used to do that shit in real life. Real talk. I ain't even joking. When I was young, I used to do that shit in real life, particularly with friends, people who I was friends with or acquaintances with. If I heard them beating around the bush for like 15, 20 minutes, I would jump to conversation. I'd say, hey, dude, man, why you talking to this woman about all this other bullshit, man? When you know you're trying to fuck her, man? What's up, man? What you doing? And of course, he would get mad. I didn't give a fuck. Hell yeah, throw salt in your game, man. All you verbal cowards out here. Acting like y'all all manly and masculine and shit, but y'all beating around the bush with women and shit. When you know you just want to fuck. I don't respect that shit, man. None at all. I'm just being straight up with you, man. I don't respect none of that beat around the bush, vague and ambiguous shit. That shit is cowardly to me, man. It's wimpy, man. That shit is wimpy to me, man. That's some no backbone bullshit. And again, I've already proved you don't have to use, in order to be ultra direct with women, you do not have to use profanity or R-rated or X-rated or triple X-rated. Again, that's why I got Mo 1.5. So for those guys who might say, hey, Alan, I'm a Christian guy and, well, number one, if you're a true Christian, what you doing pursuing women for casual sex anyway? That would be my question in case somebody say, well, Alan, I don't want to use profanity because I'm a Christian. What you doing trying to get laid anyway outside the context of marriage? If you're a true devout Christian, the only person you're supposed to be getting laid with is your wife. Real talk. Drops mic. But yes, for guys who say, man, I don't really want to go up to a woman and say, hey, I want to fuck you in the ass and I want to put my dick in your mouth. You ain't got to say all that. You can keep it real simple and non-profane. Like I said, you can just go up to a woman, first give her, that seductive look and be like, yo, you're a very attractive woman. You and I need to get together in the near future so that we can become intimately acquainted. Women know what that means, intimately acquainted. That means you trying to fuck, but you don't say nothing profanity. I want to become intimately acquainted with you. Or I want to exchange orgasms with you. Whatever. There's a number of non-profane, non-explicit ways to let a woman know you're trying to fuck. I know all of them. Because I'm a bad motherfucker. So anyway, moving past Rollo. Yeah, that would be my number one criticism. Rollo, man. I don't see how he call himself, he rarely calls himself that. Most his followers call him the godfather of red pill knowledge, wisdom, and advice. I don't see how you call a dude the godfather of red pill, man, if he's co-signing with conventional PUAs and indirect verbal game coaches. I don't look at none of them motherfuckers as red pill, man. Real talk. All them motherfuckers are purple pill to me, man. Really, any conventional PUA, indirect verbal game coach, I talked about that again in my very last video, man. To me, all of them dudes are purple pill, man. They ain't red pill. Because once you truly understand the true sexual nature of women, why would you ever be indirect again? Ever. Why? Don't give me that I'm scared of me too. Shut that shit up, man. Please, shut up. Shut up. Just shut up with that shit. Sound like a bitch talking about that shit. Shut up with that shit. That's some punk shit, man. That's some punk shit. You gotta take some damn risk in this life. If you're gonna, you gotta risk. Hey, man, fuck that, man. Bill Cosby just served, 2-3 years in prison? Was that motherfucker more one women? Hell no. He was indirect. And his ass landed in prison. Show me a motherfucker that spent 2 years in prison because he was more one direct. Man, shut that noise up. I'll curse you out if you was in my fucking physical presence, man. Talking about that wimpy ass shit, man. Shut the fuck up with that shit. I'm gonna get a Me Too accusation. I'm gonna get fired from my job. I might get arrested. I might go to prison. Yeah, give me your email address so I can send you some makeup and a dress, motherfucker. Now, moving on to these two guys. One guy is named James Tusk. Tusk or Fusk, one of the two. I can't remember. I think I'm leaning towards, I think it's Tusk, but it might be Fusk. That's the dark-haired guy. The dark-haired guy with the bad quality video. He said some stupid shit. Biggest thing he said towards the end of that clip I played, he said, being more one direct is one-dimensional. Now, he said, one of the things I find interesting, I heard a few other indirect coaches talk about this. He said, one of the things that being direct like Alan Roger Currie is will prevent you from experiencing is an emotional connection with a woman. He said that will prevent you from experiencing, he said you might as well just spend money on a prostitute if you're going to be like mode 1 with a woman. That's essentially what he said. He said if you're going to be mode 1 with a woman, particularly mode 1, these weren't exact words, I'm slightly paraphrasing, but essentially he said if you're going to be mode 1 with a woman, more specifically mode 1 hardcore with a woman, then you might as well just spend money on a prostitute. And the reason why is because you're not going to have any emotional connection with that woman. James Fusk, whatever the fuck your name is. Insert dog face here. Man, shut your corny ass up. Yeah, whoever cool with this dude, tell him I called him a corny ass motherfucker. He's a corny ass motherfucker, man. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Number one, on the prostitute claim. Prostitutes are for motherfuckers that don't get women's pussy naturally wet just with their looks and or their mouthpiece. That's what prostitutes call girls and escorts are for, in blunt language. It's for motherfuckers that can't get a woman's pussy wet with their looks, their masculinity, and or their mouthpiece. That's what prostitutes call girls and escorts are for. See, I know how to get women pussy wet with just by talking to them. I don't need to pay for no prostitute, no call girl, no escort. I know how to leave women dripping wet. You don't. And it's obvious by your commentary, you don't. You ain't bad as me, James Tusk, whatever your name is. You ain't bad as me. And you said the only guys who can get away with being Mode 1 type direct is guys like Leonardo DiCaprio. Who else you name? You name some other celebrity. I ain't no entertainment industry celebrity. And I've been having success with Mode 1 hardcore, standard Mode 1 and Mode 1.5 since I was 21 years old. So you ain't got to be no rich, famous celebrity. That's some bullshit. As far as an emotional connection, number one, why are you trying to develop an emotional connection with a woman you're trying to have casual sex with? I've talked about this at least a half a dozen times. That don't even make no sense. That defeats the purpose of having a fuck buddy. Now, if you were talking about a woman you're looking at as long-term girlfriend material or future wife material, then I'm all about building an emotional connection with women in those two categories. But if you're talking about a woman you just want to have a few episodes of short-term non-monogamous casual sex, why are you trying to build an emotional connection? That's what I call blurring the lines. I did a Patreon exclusive video about that. That's blurring the lines, my friend. That's being emotionally manipulative. That's being emotionally manipulative with women. Something I frown on. I think guys who are emotionally manipulative are scum of the earth. I think they need to burn in hell. Quote me on it. You wimpy motherfuckers, you verbal cowards, man. Fuck out of here, man. Strong disdain for you verbal coward type motherfuckers, man. Worried about turning women. I don't worry about turning women off, man. I may turn women off if I use some profanity and X-rated language. Yeah, I'm ready to send your ass some makeup and a dress and some stockings, motherfucker. Then the other dude who looks like Daniel Craig from James Bond. His name is Troy Francis. And both of them, man, again, was funny, man, because before my name was introduced into the conversation, they was all both saying they was about direct. Like the Troy Francis guy, he was like, oh, I prefer direct because you eliminate the BS and blah, 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 blah. But as soon as they start talking about true direct, both of them backpedal. And in other words, they was basically like, I'm about being direct as it relates to straightforwardly giving a woman a compliment. But when it comes to straightforwardly letting a woman know that all I want from them is casual sex, nah, I ain't about being that type of direct. That's too direct. Because they verbal cowards, man. They both verbal cowards. Tell them I said it. Tell them Alan Roger Currie said it. I ain't talking behind their back. Tell them I said it. Damn it. Shit, compared to a motherfucker like me, they all verbal cowards, man. All indirect verbal game coaches, verbal cowards, man. All conventional PUAs, verbal cowards, man. They liars, emotional manipulators, and verbal cowards. That's what all of them are. Liars, emotional manipulators of women, and verbal cowards. And if I add on one more, cheaters and adulterers. I got big ass balls, man. My balls are big, bro. My backbone is strong than a motherfucker, man. I ain't scared of shit. I ain't scared to say shit to a woman, man. Man, I've said shit to women in front of their mothers, in front of their daughters, in front of their fathers, in front of their brothers. Cross the board. Ain't nothing I'm scared to say, man. Ain't nothing I'm scared to say to a woman when it comes to letting them know I'm trying to fuck. Sometimes it's been in a very triple X-rated manner. Other times it's been in a PG-13 manner. But I let women know I'm trying to fuck, man. I don't have my time wasted by any woman. See, I said this multiple. I think I said this in literally my very last video before I went on vacation. See, you know what? What irritates me about indirect guys, conventional PUAs and indirect verbal game coaches, they always try to pass off manipulation as seduction. And it's not. Those are two different things. I've said that at least 24 times in my various videos over the last 4+ years. There's a difference between manipulation and seduction. Seduction centers around being persuasively charming with women. That's what seduction centers around. It centers around being persuasively charming with women. You're persuading a woman to eliminate her justifications for resistance and reluctance. And I get into that in more detail in my book, Who Said Again. That's what seduction is about. Seduction is about the process of getting a woman to eliminate her justifications for resistance and reluctance. Manipulation is when you utilize dishonesty, disingenuous and misleading behavior in order to accomplish your objective. That's manipulation. Here's a simple way to determine which you're involved in. Let's say you meet any woman, Lisa, Michelle, Tanya, Tiffany, whatever. Let's say you in your bedroom or in her bedroom, you're about 5 minutes away from having sex with that woman. If the woman you're about to have sex with is either under the firm belief that you're open to entering into a long-term, emotionally profound, strictly monogamous, romantic relationship with her, or at minimum, you've left room for her to strongly assume that you're open to the idea of entering into a long-term, emotionally profound, strictly monogamous, romantic relationship with her, then you're being manipulative. That's when you can say you're using manipulation opposed to seduction. That's manipulation, bro. In real simple terms, that's when you know you're being manipulative with a woman. Is when you're about to have sex with a woman, and that woman is either one or two things. She's either under the firm belief that you're willing to be her next long-term boyfriend or future husband because you lied to her and told her that, which would be mode 3 behavior. Or at minimum, if she's not in the firm belief, you've left her enough room to strongly assume that you're open to being her next long-term boyfriend or future husband because you've been vague and ambiguous, which would be mode 2 behavior. One of those two, that means you're being manipulative with women, man. That's not seduction, that's manipulation. See, when I fuck women, they know all I want from them is sex. They know all I want them to be to me is my fuck buddy. Ain't no woman laid down with me thinking that I was going to become, within the next couple of days or next couple of weeks, that I was going to become their next boyfriend or future husband. When I have casual sex with women, I tell them straight up, I ain't going to never be your boyfriend. I ain't going to never be your husband. I ain't going to spend no time with you going to the movies and taking you out to dinner and all that other non-sexual shit. All I want from you is your pussy. That's all I want from you. And y'all can think I'm exaggerating or embellishing, but people know me in real life. They know how I get down, man. I've told women that straight up. The only thing I want from you is your pussy, your sexual companionship. I don't want shit else. That's what a real man does. Miss me with this fucking fake masculinity bullshit. Got time for all these damn games? And the interesting thing is, this ain't my own opinion. I've said multiple times, I've had conversations with pretty much every woman I've had casual sex with, and even a few women that I haven't had casual sex with. And pretty much all of them told me they agree with me. Every woman I've talked to about this issue, they agree with me. They're like, Ellen, if a guy just wants casual sex, they need to just say that shit. They need to just be man enough to say that shit. Women know within a matter sometimes of like 2 minutes or less if they want to have strictly casual sex with you. But so you got all these indirect motherfuckers, and then they turn around and complain about women. What? If you're going to be indirect, I ain't going to try to force nobody to change from being indirect to direct. You're a grown man, you make your own choice. But here's my thing. If you're going to choose to be indirect, don't turn around and bitch about women. I don't want to hear you turning around bitching about women and feminism and all this other stupid shit y'all be talking about, whining and complaining like a little bitch. Yeah, I said it. Quote me on all this shit. I'm sick of y'all whiny, complaining motherfuckers. Y'all using indirect game and then y'all turning around and talking about, well, feminism has messed things up and women play too many games and women do this and women, man, I want to bitch slap all you sorry ass motherfuckers out here. Y'all ain't men. Y'all ain't men, man. Quote me on the shit. I want all the fucking smoke. If you ain't figured that out already, give me all the damn smoke, motherfuckers. All of it.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.
I have to agree with you on the communication piece, because I actually did take a session with Alan Roger Currie, and he gave me a line that I did not think was going to work, and it worked. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my God!
Other guys, man, he's the master. He's the master of the verbal seduction. He got that communication piece down pat.
It really worked. It just simply worked, and I just didn't think it was going to work at all.
Some guys have natural handles. Some guys have a better natural shot, but you can always improve your shot. And sex is damn sure something you can fucking learn. Look, dude, you want to learn how to talk better? I'm hiring Alan Roger Currie to get my dirty talk game on. Because it's always been something I want to get better at.
Verbal seduction, man. I'm like, clearly, this guy's the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, come on now.